So I just did a tutorial talking about how to set up a services only city in order to provide for your primary city. What I'd like to do is just go through some things to consider, pros and cons, good and bad, positive, negatives about doing that just to help as you're making that decision on whether or not that is something that you want to do. The first thing to take in mind is it's very fitting that this tutorial is on this map. As you can see, I really do not have much here, and I do not have a lot of space left. This map, I would say 20%, 25% of this map is dedicated to water, and you cannot build on that. So when you have a city set up in which you can get your power, your water, and send sewage to, it really helps from a space savings standpoint. So that is one positive, is that it helps you to maximize the space of a given map, especially if that map is already small or has limited land area. Now, when you look at the flip side of that, yes, I can provide for a map that does not have a lot of land space, but what I've also done is I've taken a map out of play because remember, I cannot continue to play in this map because it is, for lack of a better word, frozen in time, and I am sending services to this city. Now, sure, I could log into this city and actually treat this city as a real city and build it up with schools and clinics and police and fire and just make sure that I've got a surplus. So using this city as a services only city is just one gameplay mechanic. You can use this city the way that you normally would. Just keep in mind that you're now providing for an additional city. So you just want to make sure that you have an excess set up to take care of both cities, which is the reason why in my tutorial I talked about how you really want to make sure that if you are drawing power, water, and sending sewage to a utility based city, that you really maybe want to have one city doing that so you're not running into any issues. But uh, two sides of that coin is, as I said, this city limited in space. So it's a nice feature to be able to get my power, water, and send sewage. Another thing to keep in mind. Now, I am not running into this issue because I am playing in single player mode. So all 16 city plots of this region are mine. If you are playing multiplayer, on one hand, it's wonderful the concept that one player could set up their city to provide those services. What's really important to remember is in multiplayer, if that player decides to abandon their city, if that player does not have the services set up correctly, you are now going to run into some significant issues because you will get that notification that your city is not getting power, water, or sewage. Or, and once again, if you're getting all of those from that one city, you will get a notification saying that your city is no longer getting any anything. You're not getting power, you're not getting water, you're not getting sewage. So now you're having to scramble, and you may have already built up your city to the point where you're going to have to do some demolishing in order to get those services down. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Um, as I'm doing my cities and sharing them on YouTube, the power, water, sewage component seems to be working well. The component that is a challenge and is a struggle is it first started to appear in the Omega Valley city, and it really became an issue in the elite mega tower city. And that was getting my garbage and recycling to come to the city and support, which is the reason why I don't mind purchasing the three major services. But once you get into waste, fire, health, and police, I could have set up the fire, health, and police in this city and sent them to this city. But one thing that I run into is it doesn't seem to work quite as well as the other primary services. And I think that's because the power, water, and sewage is just a function of something that's running through my streets. There's the water and there's sewage. We're in garbage, recycling, fire, health, police. Those are vehicles that have to come to the city. And it seems like that mechanic does not work quite as well as the three primary services. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So if I were giving the advice to a player, my advice would be, yes, you can do water, power, sewage. If you are doing a city that has mega towers, or if you're doing a city where you'd like to also have recycling, send garbage trucks from your secondary city, but have a recycling plant in your main city. That just seems to work better. And I do send, when I'm just starting out a city, I do send fire, health, and police just on those in that those opening moments as a city is getting started, and I can support that city with those services. Once I get my primary city to the point where it needs to be and it can financially support it, then I do within the city have my fire, health, and police. I've not had a lot of success with those services coming over the course of not only the beginning, but the middle stages and the late stages of a city. But just some things to keep in mind when you are thinking about setting up a city and using another city plot to provide to your primary city. I hope this helps. It was just something that came to mind after I finished the primary tutorial on this. Just I wanted to clarify some things and share more of my thoughts. But I hope this helps. Have fun with the game, enjoy it, and we will see you next time.